Alrighty guys, so today we're going to be talking about the wish list in AFK Journey, giving you guys some recommended units and also some tips and tricks and explaining how it works. So let's just jump straight into things. Alrighty guys, so we're in AFK Journey right now. I've actually made quite a bit of progress on the account, been leveling quite a bit. But we're going to explain how the wish list works today. Alrighty guys, so first things first, you're going to want to go into the gacha. I believe you do need a certain amount of pulls before you can actually unlock the wish list. But yeah, there'll be a certain amount of wishes you'll need to do in order to unlock this. There's a wish list on the All Hero Recruitment banner, and also on the Epic Hero Recruitment banner. Now, as for my personal recommendations for what to run on here, I'm going to quickly set this up for the way I would, what I would grab essentially at launch, and I'll explain to you some of my decisions why and why I recommend certain units. Okay, so I didn't have to tweak it too much because most of these characters are ones I was already kind of recommending. I think I already set this up before for like an starting early game kind of wishing, and that's what this is going to be. These are the setup I'd recommend for early game wishing. If you disagree with me, you can let me know down in the comments below, but I'm going to explain my reasoning for a lot of these first. So, I personally am going to be maining the Graveborn in the early game, mainly because 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿, or this character here, is just really strong tank. Essentially what he does is he'll go into attack. The first time he dies, he can essentially revive himself and continue fighting. He's very tanky, very strong, and very good for that reviving aspect, and actually can do quite a lot of damage on one of his ultimate skills. So yeah, very good overall. And the other one I'm going to be running is going to be this character here. This is Seeya. She is essentially the main DPS or the DPS carry for the Graveborn team. Very handy character to have. Now, this other character is one I'd recommend a lot as well, 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝙿, or I believe that's how you pronounce it. And my reasoning for recommending her is she can be very useful for doing a very specific thing if you're having a bit of trouble with in early game pushing in the game, which is like targeting the back units. She can be very good for that. She's not super amazing in the late game, but she can be kind of useful for sometimes taking out some of the back units in the early game. I'll talk more about that though in a different video where I'm going to talk about like pushing through the early content of the game as quickly as you can to get better rewards and stuff. Anyways. And then this guy is basically just here for an extra mage pick. You can pretty much switch out any three of these on the Graveborn side of things, and it doesn't really matter too much if I'm being real with you. Okay, so next up are the wilder picks. I'm going to be doing a setup for my Graveborn team of 3-2, which if you guys don't know, when you're placing units in battles, you can have up to 5 units, and you get bonuses for having the same units of the same faction. So I'm going to be doing a 3-2 setup. So I'm going to be running 3 Graveborn units, probably these 3 here at the beginning of the game, assuming I can actually get my hands on them. And then I'm going to be running Granny and this character here, I forget her name, 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝙿, oh my god, that's a name, 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉, I don't even know how to pronounce that properly, 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉, however it is. So she's basically a support mage. She does, I believe, quite a lot of healing, so she's very handy for that. And then we have Granny here. She's also very good. She's another tank unit who also does a bit of healing. She's a very good unit overall. And those 3 are like my target team for like the early game what I'm personally going to be running. We also have Damien here. I'd recommend picking him up because he gets quite a lot better later on when he unlocks his, let me just show you guys real quick. When he unlocks his Mythic Plus weapon, obviously there are better support units to have, but if you have to chuck 4 on the team, the wish list anyways, but he's pretty decent. I recommend trying to get him for this for the later game. This can actually be pretty useful. There are, like I said, better healers though for this kind of role, but if you're going to choose him, you're going to have to put something on your wish list, might as well put him on there. And my other recommendation is going to be Seeya. She's really good, just a great general marksman DPS, and yeah, she's pretty good. I'd recommend grabbing her. She has the attack speed buff for her allies, which is very good. So this is one of the main reasons in early game that I run her for this ability here. Seeya increases all allies' attack speed, and the first casting also grants them energy. So this is really good for just like that very start initial boost in the battle at the early game. So she's very good for that, and she obviously does some other things as well, like increases attack speed, etc. Very good unit. Strongly recommend picking her up if you're going to be running a wilder focused team. Something to keep in mind as well, if you're not going to be running a Graveborn main team like I am, I would suggest picking up this guy instead of one of these 2. This guy is going to be your main DPS carry for the wilder team. Okay, now onto the Maulers. This is my second favorite faction in the game and something I'm very considering running. Basically this setup is what I'd recommend here. This guy, he's pretty good. He basically has a taunt and I believe an invincibility, yeah. So when he hits like a first fatal blow, he gains invincibility for a short period of time, allowing him to do a bit more damage before he actually ends up dying. He's a very good unit overall, which is pretty nice. Next, we have the combo of these 2. when you're running the Wilder team, I specifically recommend running these two in conjunction. So I'll explain what these do first. Smokey and Murky, I'm just going to call him Smokey, is a very, very strong support healer. He essentially he stays only in one position. He can't really move around, but he has this like massive AoE healing field that is really, really strong. So he's going to be a very good healer for the Mauler team. And then 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿 is very, very strong as well, especially when you get him to the Mythic Plus tier, which is when you unlock his weapon here. So let me just read it off real quickly. 𝙀𝙓𝙃 immediately defeats poison enemies when their HP falls below a certain limit. That's the main bit I wanted to read. Basically, it's a one-shot kill mechanic when they fall below a certain HP threshold, which is insanely strong. He's going to be very, very good DPS for the marksman team. The Mauler team. And he gets better and better over time as well. He's still really good in the early game, don't get me wrong, but he gets stronger and stronger, and especially when you unlock his Mythic Plus tier weapon. And then we just have one of the main tanks for the Mauler team, Antandra. She's really strong, basically just a tank. She has some pretty good defense and stuff as well. So selects an ally to grant guard, so she can grant shields to an ally as well. And in general, just a pretty damn good attack. Her weapon's also okay as well. But yeah, that's the Mauler team. That's what I'd recommend for those there. Now, this one is the one I probably am going to be focusing on the least, being the Lightbearers here. But if you want to run the Lightbearers, that's perfectly fine. Admittedly, I don't really know who the main DPS really is for this team, the DPS carry. I don't really like any of the units other than Rowan here. Rowan's pretty good. He's a really good support. He's another option if you want to run him for the Graveborn team. I will be trying to get him. Basically, you can use him as a battery for Seeya because he can generate energy for ultimates. And if you know anything about Seeya, she basically wants to spam her ultimate as much as you can. So Rowan allows that to happen. So if you don't get one of these two Wilder units yet, running a Rowan is a very good choice as well, in conjunction with something like this guy, who's a tank, Lucius. He basically just gives big dick shields to anyone in his vicinity. And then I'd also recommend 𝙀𝙑𝙃, who is a pretty decent DPS at the start of the game, and you'll start off with a copy of him you get for free through the story, so he's actually pretty decent, because you can probably level him pretty quickly and get upgrades and stuff for already having a singular copy. As for the epic recruitments, this is... sorry, that was the wrong button. As for the epic recruitments, this is what I'm going to be running for these. Why can I not change you? There we go. So I'm actually probably going to change this out. Sorry, this is for what I'm currently building. Let me just quickly switch out what I would recommend for... this is what I'd probably recommend for the setup here. Thorin, Seeya, getting the Rowan if you can, getting, what's her name? Again, I forgot her name. My god, I'm so bad with names. Getting these two characters as well. They're what I would recommend for your early game starting, just because these characters are in general are just very, very good. They're going to help you push through the game. You got your tankiness, you got your battery, your main damage, and your other things. Obviously, if you want a bit more DPS, you can swap things out for, like, say, for example, one of the assassin characters like 𝙀𝙓𝙃. 𝙀𝙓𝙃 is really good for story clear because he jumps around and moves around a lot and can be a little bit hard to hit. Sometimes that can work against detrimental to you, though, so just keep that in mind. And there are some other good options for the faction as well. Like I said earlier on, if you want to better target back units, Civiliana is pretty good. You've also got this guy here, 𝙀𝙃𝙃. He's pretty good as well. There's quite a few options, and yet again, if you want to run a more Wilder-focused team, there's also going to be the option, where is he? Back over here. This guy here, he's a pretty good DPS. He's pretty strong for the Wilder carry team. Other than that, though, I'd probably recommend, if you're going to be playing in the early game, I'd recommend running a team similar to this, a Graveborn Wilder, or a Graveborn team, or like maybe adding a couple more units in. Maybe specifically like an 𝙀𝙃𝙃 and Smokey, like this. This kind of setup would also be pretty good. But yeah, I generally am going to be running, where are we? So let me get that set up again, my god. But yeah, this is the setup I'm going to be running in my early game. This will obviously change later you get into the game because different units you'll start needing. But yeah, that's kind of what I recommend. If you guys want to set up your wishlist the same way, go ahead. But yet again, at the end of the day, it's all about what you want to play. So if you don't like these characters, whatever, say for example, you want to run a Muriel team, go ahead, do it. No one's stopping you. But that's what I personally recommend. And that particular setup I'm talking about here is very likely going to help you a lot in the early game, which is these units here. So anyways, guys, hopefully you had a good one today. I'll see you guys another time. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Don't forget to subscribe.